Hello everybody and welcome. My name's Amanda and this is James. This is James, Ahmed, Martin and Aman. And today we're really pleased to present to you Food Bytes. So Food Bytes, it's an interactive audio recipe book. Before we talk more about what it is, I'm just going to explain a bit of a backstory about how the idea came to be. So I live in a flat in Mount Victoria. I've got 5 wonderful flatmates. One of them's here, Cece. A couple of months ago we were cooking and we were looking at a recipe online, as most people invariably do these days, and we were noticing how ridiculous it is when you're trying to have chicken on your hands or breadcrumbs or egg, and then you're trying to click or swipe through a screen. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if there was an application that would read a recipe out to you? Not only read a recipe out to you, but allow you to use voice commands to move through the different steps in the recipe. Fast forward for today, and this is what we're presenting to you. So, before we go in and see a demo, I just wanted to make note that it's using voice recognition technology. So, as we run through the demo, James is going to be interacting with it. So, yeah.
Thank you. So, running through a demo. We'll be starting on the recipes page. So, we'll be selecting a recipe. So, this is the second page you'll probably see. I think roast chicken looks pretty good. We've got roast chicken. As you can see, we've got available commands up at the top. Start, previous, next, repeat, and ingredients. And then click here and start talking. So I'll click here. Cece, start.
Roast chicken with prune and apricot stuffing and pan jus. Step 1. Preheat oven to 180 degrees centigrade. That's 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Awesome. Cece, next.
Step 2. Remove the neck and any giblets from the chicken. With cold water, wash the inside and outside of the chicken and pat it dry using paper towels.
Great. Cece, ingredients.
Ingredients. For this recipe you'll need 1.3 to 1.5 kg chicken. Prune and apricot stuffing. You can find the recipe for this on the Food Bytes.
Cool. So that's how it works. I'll pass you over to Martin to talk about the technologies we used.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just some of the technology that we've used in this project, most of which probably most of us hadn't encountered 9 weeks ago. But I think one thing that the course has given us is that when we do encounter new technology, we get excited because we've got the tools and the abilities to dig into that technology, spike into it, learn about it, and ultimately be able to use it ourselves. So with this project, the voice recognition technology was that thing that we hadn't really used before, and we're all excited about getting it working and functioning. That was quite an interesting journey. There were some moments where Cece was picking up on odd words and conversations and recognising them, but also some frustrations. So we're trying to get her to listen to simple commands, and she wasn't always hearing those commands very well. So, and one of them, which is the classic that we've used over and over, is the word next. So if I go around the group and ask her to say the word next.
Next.
They're not all exactly the same. So for Cece to listen to all of those voices and understand, oh, that means next, wasn't as simple as it might seem. We had one real aha moment when we discovered that you can set the language to New Zealand, which solved a lot of the problems. And that was a real breakthrough. But we still encountered issues with her recognising some voices but not others as well. And I think James holds the mantle in the group as the person that CC understands best. Other issues we had, we discovered that the app was slowing down at times and we weren't sure why that was, so we had to go look into that, and we discovered that CC was listening to herself while she was talking. So when we gave her the command next, she would start speaking, but there was also another part of CC that was listening, which caused issues when she was listening to herself, and possibly as she used the word next, there was obviously chaos. So we had to look into that issue and resolve that as well, and our solution was that we managed to get her listening continuously unless she was speaking, and that sort of things out. The technology is fairly unstable. Still currently only works on Chrome, the speech recognition technology. You can only use it on Chrome, it won't work on Firefox or Safari. And I guess, a lot of our researching around that was because it's unstable, what can it and what can't it do, and how do we get it working effectively. So at one point we did some further research into the web speech technology and discovered something new which was called Anyang, and that seemed to be a bit more stable technology. And I'm going to pass over to Ahmed, who's going to show you a piece of the code and talk about why it's a little bit more stable.
Thank you. So as we can see here in the left side, we have Mozilla Web Speech technology versus Anyang. Initially, we started with the simple commands. So as we processed through the whole project, we realized it's not listening to specific commands. So we have on the left side, we have set different cases. So when you talk to CC, these are most common for just one single word as next. But then when we come to Anyang, it has a single line and it is smart enough to understand what you're saying. So like when you talk to her, it will always listen to the command and it will work fluently. And so like the important thing I want to mention is that we always tried different technology, and as we started, the Mozilla Web API was the choice we'd gone through, and as we developed further, we realized there are different issues, and we run into different problem, so that we realized that Anyang was stable and it was easier to use in our product. And throughout the entire project, it's narrowed down. It's simpler to use as a developer, and it works well with React, as Arthur mentioned earlier. So now I'm going to pass it to Aman, and he's going to explain why our team was so amazing.
Hello everyone. When we look back 9 weeks from now, when we started the boot camp, we learned a lot. And EDS put us through this system where we not only learn coding, as you've seen, we've coded a lot here, but essentially we learned something very important that helped us develop group dynamics, which is people skills. Earlier, through the projects that we did during the 9 weeks, we realized the importance of planning well. We used certain task managers like Trello boards to organize our tasks. We realized the importance of having a user story. So we thought we had a user in our mind, and we kind of picturized how the user would go through our app. We created a story around that, and then on the basis of the user story, we decided some wireframes of a visual layout of how the product will look. So we were all on some page of, okay, this is how a product would finally come through. And then we decided on minimum viable product, basically, which would say the next command would work when we say next, and it would give us exactly the match as you see in the demo. So that was a minimum viable product. So, and we based some timelines on when do we need to achieve that. And we learned communication skills over the past couple of weeks, and through those like stand-ups, to techniques like check-ins in the morning of how everybody in the group is doing, check-ins in the evening to check, to give feedbacks on how the day went through, if anyone has something to say for each other. So these methods helped us to resolve conflicts. There was one stage when we were on the day when we are supposed to achieve a minimum viable product, and we realized that I was on a different page on the direction we need to take, and a group leader was on a different page on what direction we need to take. So there was a bit of clash, not a serious conflict, but we were like, okay, we need to sit and talk about it, and it was clear communication, and then we decided, and because of that, we achieved MVP like within half day's time on that Sunday that we decided. which was great. And all were very dedicated with the time and hours that we put, and we realized that most importantly what EDS taught us was to have fun while we were coding. We had a lot of fun. As Hudson's group said, we had group dinners, and Cam said that was the moment for him. We actually had some very good time while having group dinners. We celebrated Mandy's birthday. You can see she's wearing a banana suit. That's a culture in EDA. If someone has a birthday, they wear that. So that was on the day we actually achieved the MVP. And we passed on lollies, having fun, having aha moments when Next actually started doing something. The word Next was so repeatedly said in our group that the other group was like, Next. So I don't think so our group was going to use that word anymore for at least a week's time. So yeah, it was a great environment. We had some serious fun, and we enjoyed coding, and we learned a lot individually and learned how to deal in a group situation as well. Final remarks from Mandy now.
Yeah, so the application's in beta and on Heroku and available on mobile. You can only use it on Chrome, but I invite you to all check it out. And in terms of additional functionality, so we built the application with scalability in mind. So at this point on, adding additional commands would be relatively straightforward because the foundation is there and everything's linked up. User testing was interesting actually. We identified that you could use voice of commands to not just navigate through the recipe, but navigate through the whole site, so move between recipes, which would be a cool feature to add. And the user testing was with someone from North America, and their voice wasn't recognised unless they put on a New Zealand accent, so that was quite that was quite entertaining. And yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to Cece for instigating the idea and letting us build her into the app. And also, we were really fortunate to, we have a connection, James's family friends with Ruth Pretty, who is a local celebrity chef, and she's really excited about the concept and has let us use her recipes for the, to trial it out and get the project going, which is really cool. And yeah, finally, on behalf of both groups, huge thank you to Mix, Pete, Simon, and Joseph for being really great teachers for the last 9 weeks. So, yeah. Any questions?
I have a very non-technical question because I don't know anything about that side. For me, I love that idea. I understand you talked a lot about internal communication and what you've all learned as a group, both teams together and everything. I'm quite interested in what you've learned about external communication when you're going to visit a client who would be like me, who has an idea but no idea how to get there or anything like that. What have you learned about that?
We had a run through with our teachers on how to speak with an external client. For example, you come up with an idea like this and say, okay, I want something like that to be implemented. So we had this mock run with our teachers to assess a situation where a client comes up and says, okay, I want this to be developed, but client is never very sure on how he or she would like to have the app really looking. So we break down and we look at different stories that they would like to see their users going through step by step. And then as we do agile, basically as the previous group explained, we create something small first, go from there, show the client back, and then we reiterate and say what more additional features needs to be added. So we didn't have many client interactions, to be very honest, but that's some mock that we did through our teachers. So I believe, and real life situation as experience goes through, we'll probably learn more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just adding on there, I guess a lesson from the exercise we did with Max, our teacher, when he was acting as a client, was not assume anything. So just really, even if you feel like you're going into detail that both people understand, but just checking, because sometimes, if there's a miscommunication, that might not be picked up till later on in the project. And so planning, importance of planning and talking about the details.
We also found we kept adding features to it if we kept talking too much about oh, it'd be really cool if this happened. Do we know how to do that? So, be careful of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you think you'll continue this project on from a beta to an actual project at some stage?
Yeah, I think if it's well received and if everyone hasn't been traumatised for life by the last week, then yeah, definitely. Joseph?
In terms of scaling this app up, if you were to have kind of a whole lot of recipes coming into the system and being able to do it quite dynamically, I think it would probably work best if you could actually digitize Cece, the real human in some into one of those automated voices. Do you know anything about the process behind turning automated voices?
That's a really good question. We did think about this very early on in the planning stage, like what kind of voice do people want to hear? Do they want to hear a robot voice, which as you say would be a lot easier to scale because you won't have to sit down and literally record MP3s with people. But Cece and I in our conversation a couple of months ago, when we were talking about this idea, we kind of thought about it as an entertaining thing, as like having a person in your kitchen and making something a little bit different to your normal cooking routine. And we kind of thought that having the human voice adds to the, not just the practicality of the app, but also the enjoyment kind of entertainment side. And it can be a bit more, I guess, playful, fun. But yeah, maybe not the most practical. Because, yeah, Cece probably has other things to do than sit down. 1,000 recipes.
To add on to that, the free version could have a robot, and the paid version could have actual Cece talking.
Yeah. Rich?
So you talked a lot about your struggles getting Cece to understand you, and I notice you've got like a variety of accents just in your group. How feasible is it to allow the user to choose their language?
It's a really good idea. I don't know, actually, so that's would be
If I could speak on that
Yeah.
real quick. So Anyang and actually so does Mozilla Web Speech. They have a variety of options for that. Like they actually have inbuilt some of the accents and such. So looking forward, we could probably fairly easily just add in a choice box for what language and what language we're not too sure about, but accents I imagine we could implement fairly easily.
Yeah, so you can change it. As a developer, you can set the language, but yeah, making it the user could set would be.
But for this project, we added specifically for New Zealand accents.
Yeah.
Have you tried this one?
Yeah, well, obviously the grilled cheese sandwich recipe was the first recipe we trialled it with, and it's one of my favourite things to eat, so yeah, just What about you guys?
I haven't tried but I'm really keen to try the chicken recipe. If I have time after, like when I have life after this.
As individuals, what do you feel is your biggest learning through the last 18 months?
Yeah, for me it would be like I've really enjoyed working in a team and having the opportunity to lead a project. When we were working really long hours and it was getting hard, it was easy to slip into kind of a negative headspace, but the team really pulled through and just constantly like delivering things and making things happen when I was all like, oh, we're doomed. And so just taught me like that's what teams are for, and like you'll work just having faith in that people are pretty awesome.
For me, I actually went into it thinking, oh, I'm just going to learn a whole lot more about how to do like React Redux and all these like different technical things. But yeah, like Mandy said, I learned a lot about team dynamics. There were points where I sort of caught myself being really like, no, I think it should be this way. But I realized, oh, I should be listening to everyone else's sort of opinions and stuff. And I think it ended up by after a couple of days, we sort of went really fluid on how we decided on things.
For me personally, coming here, I wasn't like as much confident as in myself as when I first started. So I thought I wasn't gonna work as well as with a team and like learning how to communicate together. being part of a team and having pair programming. So like giving content pair programming is when you program and someone else navigates. It tells you how and where you should go. So I feel like I wasn't gonna be as like I didn't feel as confident as working in a team, and I wasn't sure if I'm gonna give a good contribution to my team. Like I know I'm initially like before I came here as well. Like I know how to work in my own, but like being in part of a team, having some conflicts and talking through different problems and solving coding technical problems. I feel like I got better at that, and I'm really happy about what I've done so far.
Yeah, for me, it's probably the communication. It's probably a common theme. I really enjoyed the iterative process of regular stand-ups, as Aman's mentioned, and check-ins and things, so that we all know how each other's feeling and where we're at and what we want to do next. And the importance of working through things that the other teams mentioned this as well, that you might have some idea of the way things are, but it might not be exactly the same as the rest of the group, and to talk through issues. I remember one point we all thought we had a really clear understanding of what the ingredients page was going to look like, but in fact when we started working we realised that we had different ideas, and so we had to stop, do another stand-up, communicate with each other again, and get that clearer in our minds. So yeah, that's really important part of the process.
Yeah, I learned a lot about people, how multicultural and multi-ethnicity and the diversity of people can bring in so many different ideas to achieving something. And while I was observing the way I was learning through the 9 weeks process, I realized that everyone has got some really beautiful ideas, and it's people who actually make products work. And that was the key thing for me, that wherever I'm going from here on, it will be people, and I'll be dealing with them constantly, regularly, and that's something which I've enhanced over the past 9 weeks, how you develop meeting with people and working with them. So yeah, that is definitely the greatest takeaway for me.
Any other questions?
Thank you.